Hello there. Welcome to my weekly Wednesday live episode 41. My name is Juha Ruokangas, your humble servant on a mission from the gods, from the goddesses of fretted instruments. And today on September 8th, 2021, we'll talk about the future of guitar design. Hello guys. Welcome. Keep sending those comments to the live chat so I know you're there. To begin with, a little disclaimer related to today's topic, predicting the future. And I'm quoting here Warren Buffett. Just a second, I'll show you the quote. I'm not showing you the quote. Let me show you the quote now. There you see. Yeah. Forecasts may tell you a great deal about the forecaster. They tell you nothing about the future. So I'd like you to I'd like to actually elaborate on the difficulty of predicting the future a little more with the help of a practical example. As some of you know, I am one of the founders of the European Guitar Builders Association, the EGB, as we call it. A community of, say, maybe 150 professional guitar makers around Europe. Also outside of Europe, a lot of support members, professional guitar makers. The association has a board to which I belong as the vice, in the role of the vice president. Well, anyways. A few years ago, we were in the middle of the preparations for the Holy Grail Guitar Show held in Berlin, and we had this idea of somehow emphasizing that particular year at the show, the fact that playing guitar, especially electric guitar, has in the recent years become more and more popular among women, whereas in the past, playing the electric guitar has been nearly 100% dominated by men for whatever reason. We're not going into those reasonings right now, but just statistics, reality. In other words, with EGB, with the Holy Grail Guitar Show, we wanted to aim the limelight to all the talented women playing guitar. We just didn't quite know how to do it. So there we were, the EGB board, brainstorming to no end, coming up with a lot of different assumptions, scenarios of how things are, how things should be, and so on, until at some point of the meeting, Emma, you all know who Emma is, right? Yes, good. Well, Emma, after patiently listening to the very long discussion, pointed out, why didn't you ask the women? See, there we were, the EGB board, consisting of middle-aged white men, all wise and important, negotiating the past, present, and the future of guitar-playing women. You get my point. So why do I... It was kind of ridiculous in a way. Why didn't we ask the women? Eventually we did, but it took a woman to point it out for us. So why do I mention this now? Well, because I am now in the exact same situation here with my topic today. I'm the middle-aged guy predicting the future, which always depends, the future depending on the young generations, right? So this very long disclaimer is, of course, telling its own story. It reveals that I'm terrified because I'm not quite sure if I know what I'm even talking about. Predicting is very difficult, especially predicting the future. But I'll give it my best shot, and you can be the judge whether it's yay or nay, okay? So I would also appreciate a lot that you share your ideas too. Together we can cover so much more ground here. Let me see. Let me see the comments a little bit. Stephen, hey, Damien, Greg, Vincent, Tuomas, Leslie. What does Leslie say? Let's see. Hey, Juha, when do you plan to make a video about books that might be helpful when making a guitar? Cheers from Poland. Point taken. I think this has been maybe recommended to. Have I even made a video like that? I can't remember. If I haven't, I will do it at some point. I promise. We will take this idea, write it down to our notes. Hello, Kai Randell. Hello, everyone. Well, those of you who have been following my channel, you know that I have flirted with this topic before, the future of electric guitar. A couple of years ago on my video, Electric Guitar Dead, I talked about my ideas of what the future of electric guitar and guitar-driven music in general could be. And then later on a more recent video that was titled, I have a great idea, but how do I convince the world? On that video, I shared my thoughts on the creative process itself and the challenges one can face when attempting to break through with a new idea or concept, product, whatever, facing the resistance to change. The world doesn't want to change, really. Let's see. You said you wanted to make it 3 months ago. Now I'm embarrassed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out again. Emma might be listening to this, watching this live stream, so Emma will write it down and kick my butt so we won't forget it again. Thank you. Point taken. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, I was talking about the videos that I made before, and on the sort of similar topic as this one. Just a second. My video screen is doing something interesting. Sorry about that. Technical stuff sometimes. Yeah, and now on this video, continuing Electric Guitar Dead, and I have a great new idea. How do I convince the world? Now in this video, we're changing the perspective a little bit. We're looking at the guitar design itself. I try. Even though this is all tied together in such a way that I don't think you can really separate the topics from each other. So we're going to talk about the past, the present, with the emphasis on the future of electric guitar design. Okay, Emma is taking notes. Thank you. Leslie must be happy for that. Well, the past. It's not really the past, but let's say the tradition. The tradition and the archetypes. The Telecasters, the Strats, the Les Pauls. And depending on perspective, actually, all the, let's say, futuristic guitars from the past, from the 1950s until maybe 1980s, the most common variations of the V-shaped body, the Explorer types, they're old guitars. The super Strats or innovations such as the double locking whammy bar, well, those should also be included to the archetypes of the old, I think, because they are from that golden era. The reality is, of course, it's much, much more versatile, with all sorts of curiosities being manufactured, being made, prototyped in small amounts, and then they've been forgotten. Most of it has been forgotten, but it doesn't mean it didn't exist. The thumbnail image of this video, maybe some of you guys noticed. I know there's a couple of guys there that pay attention to details. So maybe you noticed I had there a pile of guitar books on the table. And with Emma, we tried to snap the photos so you could even make sense of which books they were on the table. But let me get that photo for you, so you will see for yourself. There it is. Yeah. So this photo we did it with a bit of a tongue in cheek. See those books: 1001 Guitars to Dream of Playing Before You Die, Groon's Guide to Vintage Guitars, the Fender book, Beauty of the Burst, which is a Les Paul book, a famous one, the Ibanez book, the History of Japanese Guitar Making, and then there was on one book a picture of young Jeff Beck with Les Paul, and open up on the forefront the GK model by Steve Klein, the first so-called ergonomic guitar, with some ideas actually suggested by the guy who designed the guitar on the next page of the book, Ned Steinberger's Spirit model. Ned Steinberger gave some ideas also for the ergonomic guitar by Steve Klein. And these two guitars in the forefront of the image, let's take the picture out. So these two guitars were the peak of revolution, but when? In the mid-1990s. That's 25 years ago. So the ergonomic guitar, the Steinberger guitar, 25 years ago, the headless guitars. So all the books on the table, they represent actually an era a long time ago. Something that's been around for 25 years or much, much more, 50, 60, 70 years. And when we're talking about, when we really take the bird's eye perspective on this, let's see. I was born in 1972. I started playing guitar at the age of 10. So we're now in the year 1982. I'm 10 years old. From 1982 to this day, that's, well, give or take, nearly 40 years. Okay, feels like a long time, and many things have changed. But the mainstream of electric guitars, remember, mainstream of electric guitars has stayed more or less the same since 1982. Now, looking back 40 years, let's go back from 1982, and we go backwards another 40 years. The same amount of years back from 1982, we're at the year 1942. That's 40 years. 1942, 1982, 40 years. 1982, modern day, about 40 years. Well, 1942, the electric guitar did not exist at all. So where am I getting with this? Well, it's pretty self-evident that the evolution of the electric guitar as we know it, or let's say the popular vote of what the electric guitar is, it all took place for the most part within a relatively short period of time, from late 1940s to 1950s, 1960s, in parallel with the pop music revolution, guitar-driven pop rock music. These phenomena feeding each other, the music of the day inspiring the guitar manufacturers to come up with new stuff, the new guitars inspiring the musicians to make new kind of music with that stuff, and so on. And again, a little later, certain dramatically different, innovative guitar players emerged with new playing technique, new sound, new look, and all of a sudden there was a need for the guitar to take another leap right there at the turn of the 1970s to 1980s. Eddie Van Halen feeding Floyd Rose to come up with the locking whammy so you can dive bomb, so on. So music inspiring the guitar makers. And now the question is, what about the following 40 years, from 1982 on? Well, the world has changed a lot, sure. The guitar gear technology has evolved hugely. And And then the biggest change of all, the internet happened. Internet is the key word here in the next leap of evolution. Internet changed everything for those who listen to music. Internet changed everything for those who make music. And internet changed everything for those who make the instruments for those who make music. Internet is kind of a big thing. Okay, we are getting a couple of answers here. Or answers. Steven says, good comments anyways. I follow many women players that really rock. That's true. There's so much happening in the scene with the modern guitar playing. Stephen points out also, check out Mary Spender. Yes, I actually follow her YouTube channel. Very talented woman, an artist. Yeah, so, okay, and Mitya. Hey, Mitya, nice to see you here. Mitya is announcing us the future of electric guitar, V. V it is. V is the future. I'm not arguing against that. I'm not arguing against that. Hey, Kingsley, nice to see you here too. Speaking of guitar models, Antti says, speaking of guitar models, Juha is playing the Forecaster tonight. Yes, I am. Let's see where we end up. I have come to a conclusion, but I can't spill the beans in the beginning of the show. So let's continue. Now, my biggest problem in trying to predict the future is that in my life, I'm so focused into doing my own thing that I, most of the time, I live in a sort of a void. I'm not very well informed of what's happening in the world because I'm doing this thing so intensely. And the history, well, I'm very well educated of certain bits and pieces here and there. It could be related to my personal musical taste, or certain species of wood, or whatever guitar knowledge I have, or things like that. But generally speaking, I'm a very poor historian. There's too big gaps to fill. It becomes more fiction than facts when I start to lecture about history. So during these past few days, when I've been preparing, doing my best to prepare for this broadcast, I've been really trying to gather a sort of an understanding of the most popular present phenomena related to electric guitar. And I had a recent conversation with my friend Junnu Vuorela. We have these never-ending debates about music. I mentioned the guy before. He's the guy who's been doing our web design a lot, and t-shirt designs, and a lot of things for us. So Junnu and I, we have these never-ending debates about music. It could be about guitars, business, life in general. They often might heat up to that for an outsider they would maybe look like arguments, but that we're fighting. Sometimes we're fighting, but we're good friends. Anyways, Junnu pointed out to me a couple of young guitarists when I was kind of mentioning this topic for today. Tim Henson was one of them. His band, GOAT. And yeah, Tim is a very popular YouTuber as well, with more than 350,000 subscribers, something like that. Okay, well, I had never even heard of him. I had never listened to Tosin Abasi either. Not his band Animals as Leaders either. Very popular band, modern progressive band. I just about know what the music genre gent means. Just about, not really. I don't know, but I have a hunch what it is. So there I was ranting to Junnu about how technically perfect and processed all this modern music sounds like, and I feeling that something is missing, something about the old way of making music with the soul, the dirt, the imperfections that make it human, or something like that. So Junnu responds by saying that, hey, it's just different aesthetics. You just don't understand it. You just don't understand it. Yeah, this is right. Goat is Polyphia. Polyphia is the band by Tim. Polyphia with Sami. Thank you for correcting that. Polyphia. Polyphia. Check that out on Spotify or wherever. Yeah, Goat. That's their most known song. That's right. Sorry, there you see. I don't know much about this thing, so I make this kind of embarrassing mistakes. Going back, Junnu responds by saying it's just different aesthetics. You just don't understand it, and when you don't understand it, you can't really go about criticizing it like crazy like that. And so one thing leads to another, and one day I find myself watching Rick Beato interviewing the Australian guitarist Pliny. It's one of the most famous users of the ergonomic guitars made by Strandberg. Somebody mentioned here, Headless Guitars. Ulenius, yes. Headless guitars, ergonomic guitars. Strandberg being the market leader of the guitars that actually spring pretty strong. I mean, they are born from the Steve Klein ergonomic guitar idea that Steve came up with 25 years ago. But at the time, it was just so out there, so different, too different. So it didn't really break through at the time. But now Strandberg, they're doing really well. So musically speaking, I guess it's fair to say that Pliny represents one rather popular modern phenomenon of rock music. Very popular modern phenomenon. Progressive, metal, melodic, super complex, technically challenging stuff. And so, anyways, Rick Beato begins the interview by asking something like, why is it that instrumental progressive music is doing so well right now? And Pliny's answer is, no idea. And then he continues to, I continue to listen to the friendly chat. I start understanding that, Pliny as a band is focusing into, they're very much focusing into what they do. They're creating their own future. They're making their own music, but they don't really know why it's popular until the Beato interview. It turns into chatting about social media and internet. And then all the band members agree on that without YouTube, without Instagram, without the social media, without internet, they wouldn't probably have a career in music in the first place. No career. No YouTube, no social media, no career. Pliny tells how, he's been just making his music and put it out on social media back in, before he was popular, and then others keep sharing it and things have gotten really big. And about touring, Pliny says it's a sort of extension, a chance to meet and get to spend time with the network of friends that have formed, or friendships that have formed online. So, the friends, the relationships among people who like each other, they share the passion for music, regardless on which side of the fence they are. And that resonated a lot for me because that, what he's saying basically is that the community built around his music is the enabler of his career. And that is the same that can happen in the world of guitar design, guitar making as well. Somebody creates something, not necessarily has the slightest clue at that point of what does that something mean in a wider context. It's something that someone is just, so to speak, meditating on to no end, and then comes up with something new, something genuinely new. Okay, it's totally different thing when you're purposefully following a recipe. Let's say that you're finding a way to improve an existing archetype of a guitar. You go and you dare to improve, to alter an archetype. Say making the weak Gibson style headstock stronger is in itself a little step outside the box, a fresh breath of air, so to speak. But it's a bit different, or a lot different, from standing in front of empty paper, innovating something that doesn't yet exist, but might exist in the future. This can be, on one hand, a very introverted process, but on the other hand, it also can be born out of the community that shares a certain passion. Not necessarily consciously aiming at now I have my antennas up and about. I'm searching signals around me for what is missing from the future, and when I figure it out, then I'll invent it so we can make business with it in the future. No. An example, if I'm thinking of that, of that very first spark, that ignited the design process of the valbucker. The first question, Junno Vuorela, yes, the same guy we talked about a moment ago, because this was a project done together with him. He asked me, the very first question was, can you make me the future guitar? The next step of evolution. And then we brainstormed sort of a full circle, and I ended up making instead, as many of you know the story, the imaginary first electric guitar, a guitar from the past, from an era before the electric guitar was actually invented. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, what we did, the valbucker, as it eventually turned out, the research development that we put to it all the years, it actually can be one answer also to the question, can you make me the future guitar? It's not the only answer to that, but it can be one answer. It can be. Do I know if it will be? Well, this is a question about scale, because it actually already is. It is already a future guitar for some guitarists. In a small way. I hope it will be in a bigger way. But again, the future is very difficult to predict. Very difficult to predict. And maybe a more relevant question here about the valbucker is to ask, why do I think it might be one type of a relevant future guitar-related invention? Well, a few things. I'm noticing there are great musicians here and there that are liking it a lot. And totally coincidentally, now during these past few days, which has been very eye-opening, I've also realized that many of these modern guitarists that I haven't really been interested in at all, they actually have a totally new kind of a guitar sound, a sort of a high fidelity sound, almost like. Why? Because these guys, Tim Henson, Polyphia, Tosin Abasi, they play so much notes with so complex technique and such unparalleled definition and rhythmic accuracy that what they in fact need from the guitar is as healthy as possible, nuance-rich, high-fidelity level signal. Clean, super clean signal that can take processing, that will stay together. They need that kind of a sound. So they need something completely different from the past dirt and grind. So they're finding answers from Fishman Fluence pickups, maybe many other pickups. I wouldn't know. Again, I'm not well enough informed of all things around available. But anyways, in this game, well, in this very modern sphere of guitar playing and making music, the valbucker may actually have a word or two to say. These guys, just these modern guys, Tosin Abasi or Pliny, or these guys just don't know about it yet. And my question, I'm curious, what if they knew? Would it be interesting for them? I hope one day we will find out. But of course, this is all assumptions, all hopes, all ideas. You know, who knows? Maybe what is missing here actually, you know, the link to connect these two worlds is a new guitar, a modern guitar designed around the valbucker, and a new kind of a guitar that does not draw from the tradition. Maybe, who knows? Or it could be collaboration with one of those companies already making these modern ergonomic headless fan tread extended range 6, 7, 8, 9 string guitars, whatever. You know, time will tell. We're not, but this is all, you know, this is all possible. Let me bring that out. Kingsley asked Steve Kimak once, what drives you to commission a new guitar from one of your builder friends? He said, it's always that I have some question that I need answered. Yeah. That's very, very, very much to the point. Very much to the point. And I think it ties in together where we're going next, I think. So what was our topic for today again? Where is guitar design going next? Well, the answer is, of course, it's going all over the place, like it's actually been doing for quite a while. Remember, we're living right in the middle of the new renaissance of guitar-driven music. Not in the same way, not controlled by the same mechanisms or business entities like it did back in the day, back in the 80s, the 90s, whatnot. But seriously, more music is made than ever by more people than ever, published on a wider variety of platforms and ways than ever. Making a living with music, yeah, that has also changed dramatically. Some old ways are not possible anymore, but instead there are now some new ways that weren't possible before. So it's all about adaptation to the world we live in. And yeah, considering that the world of music is expanding indefinitely, the genres, the styles, the skill sets, the sounds, it also means that the world of guitar design has a lot of room to expand to any imaginable direction and beyond the imaginable directions. You know, well, somebody said headless guitar there. So what about the ergonomic headless fan fret guitar with hi-fi sound? That seems to be one of the modern guitar-driven, like strong phenomenon. Is that the future of guitar then? Definitely. It is one of the futures. It's just that there are so many futures. And that's the thing. Not all the modern guitar acrobats feel at home with the futuristic ergonomic guitars, that have something very if you look at the aesthetics of them, they have something very machine-like, almost prototype-esque feel to them. Take Tim Henson, Polyphia, for example. A young guitar wizard who kind of sounds like he plays a guitar designed by Tosin Abasi, the Abasi Concepts guitar, or maybe by Strandberg. But no, he plays a traditionally shaped Ibanez guitar. I don't know what pickups he uses in his guitar, but they definitely sound like that there could be, piezo. There could be something. I haven't looked so close, but yeah, it sounds very high definition. The super clean sound that it has, and the very unusual sound, very unusual tone that he's producing with it. And it's very interesting. It's kind of funny because I like I said before, that I haven't been so interested, and I was like ranting about this stuff to Junnu earlier, but the truth is that I have learned a lot, and my eyes have been open to certain new stuff that I didn't pay attention to earlier on, and it's very fascinating. I like it. I like the feeling of that. Yeah, so there's so many futures for the guitar. The future of guitar design is a messy multiverse. It's even messier than the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever it's called. Yeah, there's room for every guitar superhero in the future, and also there's room for every super guitar made for those superheroes. And if that person is a very popular superhero, then there's also room for a bit more of those particular signature super guitars. Tosin Abasi is a great example of that. He played a Strandberg, then he collaborated with Ibanez in order to have the Abasi guitar designed for him by Ibanez. But it fell through because Ibanez would have needed bigger volumes to make the ends meet. A big corporation need to make much guitars for them to make any sense to manufacture them. In other words, Tosin Abasi, as unique, talented, popular, and based on some interviews I've been watching, super nice guy, he still wasn't popular enough to make this unique, weird guitar with Ibanez. He wasn't Steve Vai. Maybe, I don't know if Ibanez would have made it work even with Steve Vai, if it would have been that far out of the box as the Tosin Abasi guitar is, So Tosin took another route and started his own guitar brand, another phenomenon that was more or less impossible 20 years ago. But now, with all the advanced technology, yeah, the possibilities are somewhat limitless. What's next? Self-designed, 3D printed custom guitars made of some super future composite materials that, that rival the best tone wood. We have no way of knowing. Everything is possible. And every idea can be tested. There's been so much ideas, like all these books I have about weird guitar phenomenon of the past that came to exist for a little while and then they disappeared because the ultimate final judge of any innovation is the test of time. The stone cold final judge of any innovation, test of time, cannot be bribed. All right. Let's watch a little video clip that I think sums up all that I've been desperately trying to say here. Another ingenious artist, musician who has managed in some miraculous way to stay fresh, to stay creative, wacky, wonderful through his many, many decades long career up to this very day. So Pat Metheny, thank you Tommy Ylisuvanto for pointing out this interview for me yesterday. It's been a really a blast to watch this interview, and yeah, Pat did an interview recently with Rick Beato as well. And in this short clip, he talks about 1975, 76 something, making music with Gary Burton, with Jaco Pastorius and others. So let's watch this little clip, okay?
For me, there was no option other than trying to invent stuff.
Yeah.
And because I was around people who were doing it. Gary invented an entirely new way to play an instrument that had been around for 30, 40 years at that point. Jaco takes the frets off, and there were fretless basses before, but kind of he invented it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what everybody did. Freddie Hubbard found a way to play the trumpet. You know, that was what it was. That was what you were supposed to do, is come up with some new shit.
I repeat, that was what you were supposed to do, is come up with some new shit. Well, there you go. It's a little wake-up call for us all who are involved in any creative processes, you know, regardless what profession. You know, the new stuff, the future stuff is always the trickiest to figure out because there's no recipe for it. You just improvise and you have fun. And a great quote to end this stream by Abraham Lincoln. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Yep. And it ties in beautifully with Pat Metheny's way of saying it. That's what you're supposed to do, is come up with some new shit. You know. Yeah. Let me see through the comments. Ulenius has a prophecy: in the future everybody wants banjo tuners. That is one possibility. Yeah. All right. Guys, that's a wrap. I've been trying now after this break to kind of compress these things so we keep it nice and tidy, and I wouldn't take too much of your time. Next week, I have to admit to you, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, so we'll just have to wait and see. So I thank you for your support. If you know someone who you feel you should see this video or listen to this podcast as the podcast version, the audio version, please share it to that person, and we'll see next week again. Remember to take care of your loved ones. Be well, stay safe. Peace, love, and good music.